Hey guys, Mountaintray here. Finally getting to my little recap video just from the weekend run, the Tugalua Dusk Till Dawn, presented by Jeff's Runs, a charity run where Jeff gives the proceedings of the run to a organisation based in West End that goes directly to feeding the homeless and people in need. Where I think I might start with this one is just a bit of context to the run. I might only just go back, I'll go 3 months out, so it gives a bit more context, but more specifically just a month out, and then 2 weeks out, and then the kind of couple of days leading up to it. So I'll try and keep this one a bit more short and precise than waffling on for an hour and a half, as I don't think I need to do that for this. I'll save that for when I've got some more people on board in the coming weeks. So a couple months out, basically deloaded from work. That's probably all I'll say there. Took about a week or two off, did a lot of recovery stuff, really low load, a lot of stretching, a lot of rest, a lot of time in the aircon. Had some stuff to work through in that space there. Threw myself back into running pretty quickly after that week. Fairly active still in terms of day-to-day stuff, so fairly kind of, I guess, laborious would be the way to say it, so ergonomic lifting, bending, just working around a couple of properties basically. Obviously with Dad passing, was a fair bit of work to do there, so it was good to essentially build some low load, very low, almost aerobic kind of activity, and just time on the feet and getting the body moving. Obviously training over the hottest periods of the year really did pay dividends. Doing that safely, understanding my body, how to hydrate, how to get out of the heat, and then obviously teaming up with Shane. I mean, that's been phenomenal. We were able to problem solve a lot of the issues that I identified from my Brisbane Trail Ultra event experience, where I kind of felt that one of the things that were holding me back was I didn't actually give myself that time at night to train and condition myself to that. The condensed version, as you know, when you get tired, obviously things get more challenging. For someone like myself, when you get tired or fatigue build up, I shouldn't really say it like this, but you know, the head noises as such do plague you a bit more than what you have the capacity to deal with. And that is 100% something that you can train and condition yourself in, like I have been for the past several years, really working that in the rest of my life in running. That's very much been the vehicle to help me identify those things and improve upon them. So knowing that would be an issue, Shane was kind enough to take me under his wing as such and do some very early morning starts, as you would have seen. But his methodology for that as well is he gets you out of the sun and into the high humidity, which is actually very beneficial to train in. Again, factory and recovery and everything else, which really went well. So that's basically a month out where, some 1 a.m. wake ups, some overnight runs, getting back into some swimming, getting that recovery focus back into active recovery. Not having a workload means that my recovery has just been dramatically faster than what I was expecting. So that kind of covers off a bit of the night training, a little bit of the conditioning, and I think it's just worth mentioning as well, in terms of that night training, Shane is elite at that. He's used to what I would probably say the cognitive impacts that you could have if you did that without a clear and structured plan, or again the conditioning to be able to understand what your limitations are, how to work within them, and then how to safely push them so that you don't break yourself, so that you don't have an accident, you don't have an injury, and you're not a risk to yourself or others around you. So encapsulating the best of that methodology, I really feel like it gave me an absolute edge for an overnight run where you were running through the darkest obviously times of night, going from sundown to sun up, and it also identified some things that I need to pay attention to. That on one of those overnight runs we did, I felt very strong until the body would have been into that deep sleep cycle that I'd normally be in, because I normally wake up about 3:30 a.m. I was thinking that I'd have the biggest issue about that 12:30, 1:30, 2 a.m. mark. Didn't really feel it in the race until, I'll get into that in a minute, but yeah, until that 3 to 4 a.m. where I was expecting sunrise to be just around the corner, not realising I had a little bit longer to go. But glazing over that, that's about 1 month out, and within that 1 month for scale, I have posted little bits and pieces of this, but off the average for this year, since the start of the year, just using raw averages, I would have been averaging about 8 runs a week and about 122 kilometers a week. Couple times in there, I nudged over a 7-day period, 160 kilometers for 7 days. Obviously with Strava using Monday to Sunday, doesn't really give you an accurate 7-day load figure. So they're just some of the tools that I use. Garmin has a great tool for that. I think it's a lot more structured to what an athlete would actually cover, where Monday to Sunday doesn't really mean much if you've run 160 kilometers in 3 days 1 week and you try and do another 80 kilometers in the next 3 days of the starting week. It just wouldn't make sense and you'd blow up. So again, using those kind of metrics to make decisions, heart rate variability, resting heart rate, they're the main things I'm focusing on, or was focusing on as well, in my runs. That if you go back over it, I think I'd be hitting about 130 BPM, 140 BPM, zone 2 active recovery for most of it. So my big thing, and a lot of, thankfully, very recognized athletes are all saying, much the same thing, that you can 100% stay in zone 2 and just do consistency over time. And I'd rather get consistency over time and longevity than try and smack out a fast 12-hour run and cook myself for the rest of the year. When I turned up to track this morning, did a great session, pulled back where I needed to at the back end and slowed down for the best effort, knowing that I'm factoring in all those metrics around my heart rate variability is still on point. My resting heart rate, like 1 BPM averaging higher, so marginal, but again something to pay attention to. Which is the deload today that I didn't go for an extra 10k like I normally would. Sat in the aircon, watched some movies again, and took it very easy. Did some planning and some work around the house and emails and that kind of stuff to keep mentally active, but to give the body a chance to rest, and made sure I wasn't in the heat of the day either. So just keeping that body temp nice and cool very much helps with recovery. So just going back to 2 weeks out, I didn't actually, obviously, I had not planned to do this event. Just something came up in conversation 2 weeks out where I realised it'd be a great opportunity, and I'd been eyeing off an event like this, so figured I could go cheer a mate on and see it for myself. Talking it over with him, kind of realised that I was in a position where I could just turn up and do some laps and have some fun. As you would have seen, I went into it with 2 or 3 strategies. Why? Because, as I said at the time, it's a training run. I don't want to blow up. There's a lot I could test, even just nutrition, hydration, and staying on my feet for 12 hours. That alone is more than enough, even if I only did the low end of what I was expecting. So even if I only did 60 Ks, I would have been very happy with that as well, if I nailed those key metrics and hit the longevity and recovery piece. So 2 weeks out, signing up for a 12-hour event might seem bordering on insanity for most people, but again, factoring in 122 kilometer a week average with I think about probably a couple kilometers worth of vert in there. Obviously the body's strong enough, and again, not having a workload in there, being able to tailor my recovery as required, I felt quite confident to be able to do that. And originally my methodology was very much how do I stay strong towards the back end of the run to be able to pace him as required if he pushes for a goal time finish. Factoring that in, as I said at the time, the different strategies were basically an easy 10Ks with a break. The half, full and then a half, as in get a full marathon done while I'm fresh, knowing that over the overnight period where you'll naturally start wanting to slow down, you can pull back and just take it easy and get that half out. Or the double mara, which is more what ended up happening, that I just did a slow mara at the start, and then I think it probably averaged out about the same, just because the pacing for the last 5Ks I did, or the kilometers between 81 and 86 were the fastest 5 kilometers I ran in that event. But again, it was pulling back overnight and not pushing through fatigue and not pushing through where my body was taking on food and nutrition, where I wouldn't have had the ability to get into the high heart rate zones, because I would have put too much stress on my body. I would have been trying to fight myself for getting food in. I would have been trying to fight myself for getting water in, when I knew I could just keep fueling and get through that. So having those strategies in there gave me that flexibility to make that decision, and then the confidence as it was going on to understand that even over a 12-hour race, you can reassess and adjust to your current situation, and obviously that's what we do as athletes. We do the best of what we can at the time within the parameters of which we're working. So yeah, I think that's roughly about 2 weeks out. Going into the week, so 2 weeks out, it didn't really deload at all. Kept a fairly high load, knowing that I'd have a very fast recovery time. Went for a run down the Gold Coast, did some overnight work with Shane, pulled back a little bit this week, so I just jumped to the week leading into it. Just did the one training session with Red Dog Triathlon training at track on the Tuesday. May have gone for a walk or something now, I can't remember. I can probably pull that up, but not really too critical there. Actually, I'll just pull it up now. Yeah, so just did that one training session, and then on the Wednesday, I think I made the right call there. So Shane being on a deload week, and I'd conditioned myself to those midweek kind of longies on the Wednesday. Had a crack at hitting his pacing on that 30K. From memory, I think I nailed it for the first half, but again, all this is signs that I was getting, both being able to understand my own body, the conditions I was running in, and the data that I'm getting from my watch. Again, all I'm really paying attention to on the watch there is just the pace I'm at and my heart rate. My heart rate was way too high for the pace. I should not have, when I'm fresh and rested, it's not that high. So going into a big event on Saturday, made that, it's a fairly easy decision at the time, but it's challenging because you have you've got a goal in mind. You don't want to back out of a goal. But again, 2 training runs isn't a reason to blow up. They're not the main events. So pulled back on the pace, did some recovery work even on that run, and finished it feeling quite strong. Wanting to run again, felt like getting that faster pace out in the front half really kind of did give me the confidence for the weekend to go, okay, I've still got a fair bit left in the tank. And again, making that decision meant that mentally I was thinking about the event the right way and my training the right way, that I had the presence of mind to pay attention to what was going on around me. Again, the surroundings, both environment, the physical feedback from my body, and again, the data from the watch. That's about a week out. In terms of diet and nutrition at that point, if I was on a racing plan, probably wouldn't have done what I have done, although it worked quite effectively, so there's probably something there for me to look into. Thursday, Friday was a complete deload. Just tossing and turning about, getting a walk in, going for a really light swim or a rest. Just stayed, what I'd say is life active, walk around the shops, walk around the house. You're kind of moving, but there's no stress on the body. Sit down. I think there was a kind of bit of a email paperwork day in there. Bit of time with mum at clearing out some stuff there. So yeah, like I said, like a good mix of fairly mentally active, physically not so much, but a little bit of physical activity just so that the body doesn't completely tighten up, because that can be the hardest thing if you're not used to a deload, or you get or you get a bit too excited and do a run the day before and you hit it too hard, or you hit it too soft, or you're not thinking about something, and I don't know, to me they're high risk days. So deloading there and just keeping mentally focused on my carb load, putting all of that effort into basically having an eating contest when you're about to go into a 12-hour event is probably the best thing that I could have been doing. That not having any load on the body meant that I could keep running, I could have a full stomach, I could rest, I could let the food kind of settle and pass, and again keep my heart rate nice and low, which working I would not have been able to do. Well, you still can, I have done it in the past, but it is a lot more challenging. So that takes you to Thursday, Friday. I posted a little bit of information about kind of what I ate in those days, but you are really just chasing high carb. I'm chasing nearly 900 grams, or probably about 3 loaves of bread worth of carbohydrate leading into that event. I didn't actually do the maths on it, just because I've done it a few times now. I know roughly what I need. And instead of doing it in one day, spreading it out over 2.5 days, the event being on Saturday, I think that also went really well for my body. That I definitely weighed myself, and I definitely got the water weight up there, which is what carbohydrates do. Helps put water back in muscles, and helps you not deplete as quickly or hit the wall when you're running. And yeah, mentally, I think going into that event with a community mind, which is again the mindset that I've really been trying to kind of harness and tailor for myself, that I'm just going in there to hopefully support someone else to learn as much as I could about it, and to keep an open mind, meant that again I did have a rough a goal in mind of that kind of 60 to 80 kilometers and those 3 different strategies. So I'm not just going in there off a whim. But I think that's probably the point of difference, where in the past, especially for marathon distances, where it sounds silly saying this, but they're that short that you make a mistake, you can't really recover it that quickly. Or sorry, you have to recover it insanely quickly, or you can't. For these longer ones, having that mindset of something happens, it's okay, you overcome it, you adjust, really pays dividends. But again, that's kind of something that I might do a bit more work on in that space, with my mindset and psychology behind that, because I think for me and the type of person I am, deloading some of that mental stress meant that my heart rate stayed lower, meant that I stayed fresher, meant that I had a better sleep, meant that I had a better recovery. And even on the sleep, I don't have that open in front of me, but from memory, I had a very good sleep Wednesday, Thursday into Friday. But like a lot of people would know from either study, work, or any kind of event, the night of or before, you're not necessarily getting a huge sleep. Sometimes I've actually not slept at all. Thankfully I got about 5 hours, still woke up earlier than what I'd like on Saturday, but knew to get up and get active at a very light rate, as in I just spread out getting my gear ready, watching a couple of movies back to back, but not staying stationary for too long within that. I'd get up, I'd walk around, do some very light stretching, not trying to overwork the body or overstretch. Again, just trying to get the blood moving, make sure that all the carbohydrates are where they are and where they need to be. And I think that almost gets us to the race. The drive out there, I made a couple mistakes, just swapping vehicles over and ducking into Coles to grab a couple last minute things. Didn't quite get there at the time that I'd like, but again, this is something that might have actually paid dividends for me, because I wasn't standing around there waiting to run for very long. I was basically parked up, got my gear out, and pretty much time to hit the race line, so hit the start line. So that might actually be something that I need to look into, which is the benefit of doing these recaps. That I think just from my experience in the past, that's a point of difference where for Noosa Marathon, I noticed staying close to the start line, I could get a little bit more sleep and go down basically when I'm kind of comfortable and ready to turn up and just run the event. I'm not standing around the start line for too long, getting hot and cold, or again, burning that nervous energy and running the race 100 times over. I didn't really know what to expect with this one. It was a 1K loop, and how it was described to me is you're essentially in a fishbowl, as in people are all around you, you're being watched the whole time, which brings me, I think, to the race. I can kind of jump into that now. Started off very slowly. I think first few laps, I think I was sitting at a 6:30 pace, which just felt so comfortable. Stopping nearly every lap at the start there just for water. I ate a hot cross bun in that first hour. I sat down, I put my feet up. Obviously didn't need to, it was more of a mental thing for myself, just to remind myself, I'm like, this is a 12-hour event. You do not have to, go out hard at the start. Slow yourself down when you've got the energy, trying to bank it and save it for when you need it most. Next hour, much the same, banana bread instead of a hot cross bun. Had a winner's gel at the start with cola in it. Heart rate was wild. Not because I was overexerting, but what happens when you're anxious or you have anxiety, your heart rate goes through the roof. So knowing that and playing into that is again why I made sure that I stopped and sat down and physically deloaded, because it gave myself a chance to just cool, calm, and collected. So I don't think I really touched a gel again until that second hour mark, where I think I had, should have written that down. I think I had caffeine at that point, so I had a little 150ml hip flask of Coke, which if anything just helped settle out the stomach for the solid food, give a bit of a pick-me-up. 150 mils is about 10 grams of sugar, not much in the way of salt, not much in the way of sugar, and not really much in the context of drinking in excess of 500 mils of water every hour, which is what I was hitting quite comfortably. Probably hitting that 5 to 750 mil every hour. I'll kind of skip through, because that first 5 to 6 hours, I really couldn't change much. I just want to repeat it. Switched back to a hot cross bun the next one and repeated that same 2-hour cycle for roughly 6 hours. I think I did about a 5-hour 30 marathon, stopping, filming bits and pieces again just to try and slow me down and enjoy and capture the experience. 6-hour mark, so it turned around at 3 hours. That's probably worth mentioning. I think that made a huge difference. One of the runners, Kelly, who came third, absolute gun of a runner, big diesel engine, just kept going all night. I think she called it out from the year before, that going the same way the whole time, you do notice it in your hips. So I noticed it from the mental side of it, that even just a subtle change like that, what felt like a very flat course at the start, you start seeing these little rolls of about a meter, which when you've been on your feet for 6, 9, 12 hours, that change makes a huge difference. So good on you for that. I really appreciate that, as I'm sure everyone else did, whether or not they realized it. So 3-hour turnaround, jumping back over 6 hours, we're going back the same way. 6 hours I made sure to slow right down, because that was the halfway point. Once I'd started to build up a bit of fatigue though, I did play around with not sitting down too much. I leaned against the car. I'd take some of the weight off my feet. Occasionally I'd sit down for 10 seconds, but again, knowing that it's a 12-hour endurance race, I'd just do a slow 5k loop, or depending on, slow 1k loop. Depending on which way we were going and the timing of it, I might extend it for a bit longer, just to take food and water on and get back to the car. And then again, I condensed it down to more every half an hour, or 5 kilometers, as in 3 to 5 kilometers of, let's say, jogging to a run, and then a kilometer where it is absolutely a walk. That cycle I think I dropped into fairly early, but definitely was on from the 6-hour mark. Again, it it just helps that mental side of it, that you're getting quite tired. If you're sitting down when you're normally sleeping at that hour, mentally it's quite difficult to get up and get out of the chair. Where keeping your body moving in that low heart rate zone, like I would have been at 89, under 100 BPM for a large portion of that while I'm taking on food and water. So paying attention to the gut, making sure that everything's sitting right, and then if I'm running and burping or something's going wrong, it's just pulling back on that pace at that point again to let the food settle. Because I did notice after midnight, before that even, I think I started to get some potato chips in, knowing that I was probably going to switch to gels pretty soon, that the body would not be in a position to digest food in that way. I just struggle to get solid food in when I'm normally sleeping, but getting potato chips, Coke, and some gels in went down quite easily, to the point that I was more concerned about overeating, knowing that I had such a good base for the first 6 hours, and it was starting to look like I was tracking very well, and if anything could slow down to where my target was, which just gave me that confidence to pull back a little bit and chase the goal of be running strong when the sun's up. Because when I was on the run, that's what I was fixated on. That was my gold medal. Clay Dawson, Peter Stack, John Pearson. There's some absolutely incredible runners out there. I can't list them all because it'd take too long, but having those kind of guys running around there and showing you what's really possible, but not getting sucked into that either. That there are a couple of times there where I would pick up the pace and run with them and have a bit of a chat and pick their brain a bit, and we'd kind of, encourage each other along. Knowing I could do that sporadically really did help keep me fresh. I don't think I put music on until the 8-hour mark. For context, there was a team, I think their name was Booties. They had music on down the back area, and smiling thinking about it because when it's dark at night, those guys just went hard all night. They were cheering us on and putting a big effort themselves doing a relay. So you've got that to look forward to down one end, and then in the middle you've got the mat with a big TV display and a few people still up giving you a bit of encouragement, and another section where there's a bit of music. So having that fishbowl aspect where you're always running with people and you're always on display, I think really did help pay dividends, that mental aspect. I just didn't kind of notice those same things that you notice on a trail when you're in the middle of the trail on your own. You don't see someone for 2 hours. You get all kinds of things plague your mind, like, are you on course, off course? Even when you're following the markers and following everything, you're still asking yourself those questions, and it's still tiring you out. So I personally found that repetition quite soothing in the course, that it's just a 1k loop, it's less to think about. Could just channel that into the body, and it's not like I was ignoring the run, not like I was ignoring the body. I was very present, but just able to very much relax into that. The 8-hour mark though, 4 hours to go, I had that mixture of, I was hanging in there for sunup, starting to get a bit tired, a bit bit over plodding along. Got the music on to a playlist that I really enjoy, and that was also when I started to realise that I was in a pretty unique position for my target time, that it was actually looking like I was going to get over 80 Ks safely and effectively, that I didn't need to necessarily push all that hard. I could keep doing the cycle that I was, where I was doing roughly 5 Ks or half an hour. I'd be switching between those kind of metrics because, well, yeah, half an hour on your feet still usable. 5Ks would be a better metric, or probably more if I was going a bit of a faster pace there. But again, just keeping that cycle consistent, you get kind of relaxed within the routine of it. And mentally though, I don't know why I didn't check. Maybe it's a good thing. I didn't check when sunup was. I still thought it was at 4:30 for some reason. It was an hour later. I thought at 3:30 I'd be starting to see that little bit of purple or deep blue that you get when the sun's about to come up, but the moon dropped us into complete darkness, but we're running under lights. Again, that's not really too much to complain about. It's just a mental thing that I was hanging in for that I didn't get for another hour or so. I think at that point, pretty much would have been just plodding along with other runners as much as possible, either just sitting off each other or side by side having a chat every now and then. Just we all, I think, hit that same or similar point pretty collectively as the challenge of staying on your feet for that long becomes evident. Music paid a big difference for me, and also just getting out of my shell a bit and having a chat to the other runners and trying to give them a bit of energy and give myself a bit of energy along the way. That community aspect really paid dividends at that point. We all dug really deep there, and again, a big reason why I love trail running and love that community. Yes, we're all competing, but we want to see the best that we can do for ourselves. So once the purple did start to crack on the horizon, the timing worked out pretty well. I think I had about an hour and 40 to go and only 7Ks to do to hit my target, and where I realised I could probably get out, 87 or 88 kilometres, which was where I was roughly tracking off the mass I did. Got it on video, thankfully, but the mass I did about halfway in an attempt to go back in time. Obviously, you hit 88 and you go back in time. Marty McFly. Basically, I think I don't know about to say fear, but I felt like I could stop holding back. As much as I'm saying I was fatigued and all that, like I'm holding back mentally, because when you're fatigued, you kind of think, well, if I run hard, I'll get further or the race will be over. But it's not. It's a time race. So again, for me, it was more about the tortoise, not the hare. And hour and 40 to go, I did channel that little bit of send it. I was like, okay, really good sport here. I'll never forget this experience. I dug pretty deep with Clay Dawson and did a lap with him at his pace. Give him a bit of energy back, because he'd been giving me energy for so long. Watching him just tear ass around that 1K loop was really special. So I made sure to dig quite deep there where I knew I'd hit my target, and so thankful I did. Just a really cool experience from my point of view. And again, I had such insight from other really experienced runners there to keep my head straight when I needed it. So pay it forward, and that's what it's all about. And did a lap with him. He got going again. Dropped me pretty quickly after a lap. And then I sat back into my little routine I had. Took it easy for that lap, just to recover, get the heart rate down, and then cruised maybe a touch longer than what I would have wanted. But again, I wasn't really competing against anyone else there. I'd done what I set out to do at that point, or was doing it. I did start looking at the leaderboard in the sense that I was like, I could see myself getting into a top 10 position, which felt really quite energizing. So, well, in that moment I did follow the energy and did use that as motivation to dig a little deeper, and then really pushed that last kind of 40 minutes to half an hour, where I think my final K, I don't know if I would have been 5 minutes something for that K, which really, really happy with that. I skipped through the last lap because those last 2Ks were truly special, and I think that's kind of all I really need to say there. Nothing I'd change. Backed off quite a bit on not water, but definitely on, so electrolytes worked really well the whole way through, kept on top of that, and water. But again, having solids for so long meant that I could kind of pull back, and it felt like my body was still kind of feeding off what I'd already put in. So didn't put in too many gels, didn't put in too many additional stress to the body for that back 2 hours, knowing that I could run for an hour and a half pretty comfortably at that point, with all the food that was in there, like I said. Just trying to get my words together to say this. So I don't know. Mate, this was ego, this was pride. This was 100% those things. I'm not gonna say it wasn't. This was digging deep. When, yeah, don't know why it kind of affects you that way, but obviously you do put in quite a bit, even just for a training run. Dug pretty deep on that last lap. Knew it wouldn't count. It's weird. Knew it wouldn't count, did it anyway. Yeah, guess I did have a point to prove to myself that I could. It wasn't about the race, it wasn't about time. I started the lap knowing that the cutoff would happen. I needed about an extra minute. I started the lap, I finished the lap, I went to the Jeep, grabbed my water bottle and got to the finish line, and I think this is why it's choked me up a bit, but got quite a nice reception when I crossed the line. But yeah, that's what you get when you put yourself out there and you give things a go. And that's what this journey's been about for me, and I might have to actually cut it there. Yeah, really wasn't expecting that. I was very happy to receive it, obviously. It means a lot. And yeah, why I'm so focused on that community and taking that spirit and giving it back out there, because, you know, that's the kind of community I remember growing up in, support that I remember receiving, and why I think I should probably do this in different videos. Doesn't really help with the recap, but again, why I'm so motivated to change the world around me. You dig deep, you put yourself out there, you do the right thing by everyone else on that track that was out there with you. Yeah, they paid it back in dividends, and that was just really special. And again, yeah, stayed around for the awards, was a part of that. It's great to see just how happy everyone is to achieve what they set out to do, and again, just the energy and the environment after everyone had been awake for God knows how long. So a lot of people had slept doing different events and camped out there, so you know that they know how to manage themselves safely. But still, that's a big event, and again, I'm just so thankful to experience it. So thankful that the money goes to a charity, and so thankful to have done my track session this morning with Red Dog Triathlon, and it going so well that I even got a swim out. It's probably more the point. Should focus on the recovery. So yeah, keep going. So Sunday, ate a bunch of biscuits on the way home, a few more hot cross buns, stayed on the electrolyte drinks till I got home, and then finally switched to one of those big heavy protein carbohydrate milk sausage and drinks I have. just to top everything up and get the body into recovery, to tell it, hey, we're done now, we can slow down. Had a great chat to Jen, and I had a little bit of a nap in the aircon again, just to make sure the body had a chance to cool down and wasn't overworking itself. After the nap again, a bit more time with Jen, and could feel it. I was like, my body actually feels really good. Ego actually kicked in that morning. That's worth mentioning. The excitement of finishing strong, following the plan, sticking to the plan, getting 88 kilometers out, supporting those around me and myself. A bit of ego kicked in where I was like, oh, I could do another run. Thankfully asked for advice in that situation, knowing that something just seemed off, and that just seemed a bit ridiculous. Didn't do the run, went for a walk and a stretch. Enjoyed the sunset and a walk with Jenna, and stretching as required, and woke up Monday fresh as a daisy, wondering if I'd just dreamed the event. Went for, of all things, a 2.6k swim, just doing 50 meter breast, 50 meter free, no wall touches, no ground touches, no stopping, just trying to stay active. I had my heart rate strap on, making sure I wasn't overworking myself, and just really tried to listen to the body and use the water as resistance and just glide for a bit, and again felt even better after that. Went for a walk with another mate. I was supposed to do a bit of a Mountaintray segment on, but I got hoodwinked with a dog, so we didn't quite get there. But great chat and a great way to unwind for me and keep the legs going. Again, to roll into Tuesday morning, where 3 days after, I did kind of notice, I was like, oh, hang on, I hit snooze on a track event when normally I wake up like a lightning bolt for track, because I'm that excited for it. The coach Trent picked up on it straight away. He's like, look, I'd normally say to my athletes, it's time for a bit of rest. I was like, yeah, that's bang on. I still want to do this session, but I'll make sure I deload for the rest of the day and the rest of the week, because I've got another fun run this Saturday. I think I'll be covering much the same distance in different conditions over different timings. So different problems to solve. Still running with very experienced athletes and very keen for the event. So again, that was in the back of my head as well, where I'm doing 88Ks one Saturday. Chances are I'm probably going to be doing about the same the next Saturday. My training base, my training volume's really strong. Now it's just managing that little bit in between, where it's like a bit of maintenance, bit of top up, and a lot of recovery work to then do that again on Saturday, and then reassess the rest of the month. Going into March, where it looks like I can get more of and just what I'm working on at the moment with, or hopefully with Red Dog Triathlon training, to get a bit more targeted structure for March, April, to then really hook into the GC30, which is completely different again to this kind of long stuff where, I'll be getting uncomfortable in a fun way. And again, looking at the rest of the year and coming years, that I've got such a strong base now. That's why I made decisions that I've made. Well, I think that's my recap. I got a bit more out than what I thought, and got a bit more emotion out than what I thought, but I guess that's all a part of it. Actually, I mean, the emotion side of it's probably worth mentioning too, that I didn't quite get into a place on that run that I often do go to. I felt like I actually addressed a lot of that stuff before the run, and made some decisions on the run. I had my dad's Collingwood cap there. He was always in my corner wearing that. I'm not really getting choked up now by it. I think that it does affect me, but I think that was such a positive way where I kind of took control of that emotion, so I wasn't kind of surprised or caught out by it. That I watched Independence Day, a movie that we've watched together almost religiously, just a fun action movie. I think that really is it. So thanks guys, stay safe, smash it.